Everyone, good evening. I hope I am audible and you can hear me. All of you are doing well. How was your day? You can put down in the comment box how your day was. So, coming to today's topic, നമ്മൾ ഇന്ന് ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്നത് is comparative and superlative adjectives. മിക്കവരും they have a bit of confusion. ഇതെങ്ങനെയാണ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് and things like that way, right? So, we'll be discussing this today, comparative and superlative adjectives. So what is this comparative and superlative adjectives? First of all, അപ്പം കമ്പാരിറ്റീവ് ആഡ്ജക്റ്റീവ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് നമ്മൾ ഒരു കാര്യം വേറൊരു കാര്യമായിട്ട് കമ്പയർ ചെയ്യുമ്പോഴാണ്. When you compare one thing with another thing, that is when you use these comparative adjectives. For example, this bottle is bigger than that bottle. So ഇവിടെ രണ്ട് കാര്യം ആണ് കമ്പയർ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. You're comparing two bottles. This bottle is bigger than that bottle. So they are using a comparative adjective. A bigger എന്ന് പറയുന്നതാണ് അവിടുത്തെ comparative adjective. Okay, this bottle is bigger than that bottle. Or she is taller than her sister. She is taller than her sister. വീണ്ടും നമ്മൾ അവിടെ രണ്ട് ആൾക്കാരെയാണ് കമ്പയർ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ, ഒരാളെ വേറൊരാളായിട്ട് കമ്പയർ ചെയ്യുന്നു. She is taller than her sister. Over there, taller is the adjective. So like this way, when you compare two things or two people, that is when you use this comparative adjective. And superlative adjective is when you compare one thing with a group of other things. Okay? ഒറ്റൊരു കാര്യം വേറെ at least more than two things when you compare it with, that is when you use the superlative adjective. For example, this is the biggest bottle that I own. This is the biggest bottle that I own. So the superlative adjective over there is the biggest. ഏറ്റവും വലിയ ബോട്ടിൽ ഇതാണ് എന്ന് പറയാനായിട്ട് you're comparing one thing with a lot of other things, or at least more than two things. Okay, or she is the tallest in her family. She is the tallest in her family. So again, you're comparing one person with a group of other people. Okay, that is the difference between this comparative and superlative adjectives. Okay, സോ ഇനി എങ്ങനെയാണ് നമ്മൾ ഈ കമ്പാരിറ്റീവ് ആൻഡ് സൂപ്പർലേറ്റീവ് ആഡ്ജക്റ്റീവ്സ് ഫോം ചെയ്യേണ്ടതെന്ന് ഐ വിൽ ടെൽ യു. ഓക്കെ, സോ യൂഷ്വലി നമ്മൾ ഈ കമ്പാരിറ്റീവ് ആൻഡ് സൂപ്പർലേറ്റീവ് ആഡ്ജക്റ്റീവ്സ് ഫോം ചെയ്യുന്നത് ഡിപ്പെൻഡിങ് ഓൺ ഹൗ മെനി സിലബിൾസ് ആർ യൂസ്ഡ്. സിലബിൾസ് അനുസരിച്ചിട്ടാണ് നമ്മൾ അവിടെ ഓരോ ഇത് ഫോം ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ, സോ നമ്മൾ ഐ ഹോപ്പ് യു ആൾ നോ വാട്ട് സിലബിൾസ് ആണ്. സിലബിൾസ് എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഇപ്പൊ ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ യു ടേക്ക് ദ വേർഡ് കാറ്റ്. കാറ്റിന് ഒറ്റൊരു സിലബിൾ ഉള്ളൂ. Only in one breath you're saying it. Okay, and ഒരു vowel sound അവിടെ produce ആവുന്നുള്ളൂ. So that is called a syllable. So depending on the syllables, the comparative and superlative adjectives ന് rules ഉണ്ട്. ഇങ്ങനെയാണ് ഫോം ചെയ്യേണ്ടതെന്ന് വെച്ച്. So we are starting with the one, the like when you use one syllable adjectives വരുമ്പോൾ എങ്ങനെയാണ് comparative and superlative adjectives ഫോം ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്. Okay, so for comparative നമ്മൾ എന്താണ് ചെയ്യുന്നതെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ you add an er to the word. Okay, നമ്മൾ അത് കമ്പാരിറ്റീവിലോട്ട് ആക്കുമ്പോൾ we add an er to the word. I use this example a little earlier. Tall എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരു വേർഡ് ഒറ്റൊരു സിലബിളേ ഉള്ളൂ. സോ അത് കമ്പാരിറ്റീവിലോട്ട് ആക്കുമ്പോൾ we say taller, right? Similarly, another word is fast. That also has only one syllable. When you make it into comparative, you're adding an er. So faster. Same way, the word small, that is also having only has one syllable. So when you make it into comparative, it's smaller. So for example, she is taller than her friend. She is faster than her friend. She is smaller than her friend. That's how you create the comparative adjectives with one syllable words. And for സൂപ്പർലേറ്റീവിലോട്ട് ആക്കുമ്പോൾ ആദ്യം തന്നെ ഫോർ ഓൾ ദ സിലബിൾസ് നമ്മൾ അതിന് മുമ്പിൽ ദ ആഡ് ചെയ്യും. ഓക്കെ, യു ആഡ് ദ ബിഫോർ ദ അഡ്ജക്റ്റീവ് ആൻഡ് ആ വേർഡിന്റെ കൂടെ യു ആഡ് എൻ EST. You add an EST to the word. For example, tall എന്ന് പറയുന്ന വേർഡ് സൂപ്പർലേറ്റീവിലോട്ട് ആക്കുമ്പോൾ the tallest, fast, the fastest, small, the smallest. For example, she is the tallest in her family. She is the fastest runner in her school. She is the smallest student in her class. So that's how you use this comparative, or how you form this comparative and superlative when you're talking about one syllable words. Okay. അടുത്തത് is when you're coming to two syllable words. So two syllable words സാധാരണ നമ്മൾ ERഉം EST ആണ് ആഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്, ലൈക്ക് the one syllable words. For example, clever എന്ന് പറയുന്ന word, clever, it is a two syllable word, right? Clever. So ഇത് when you're making it into comparative, you say cleverer, and in for superlative, the cleverest. Same way, another word is simple. Simple, simpler, the simplest. Okay, so usually you add an ER and EST like the one syllable words, but if the word ends with a Y വെച്ച് അവസാനിക്കുന്ന വേർഡ്സിന്റെ കൂടെ നമ്മൾ വേറെ ഫോമാറ്റ് ആണ് വരുന്നത്. Okay, so Y വെച്ച് വേർഡ് അവസാനിക്കുവാണെങ്കിൽ what you have to do is you add an for example, take the word what do you say, busy. Busy എന്ന് പറയുന്ന വേർഡ് നമ്മൾ what we do is we add an IER. ആ Y മാറ്റിയിട്ട് you add an IER to the word. Busier. So comparative, it becomes busier. Okay. Or you can say easy. Easyയും Y വെച്ച് അവസാനിക്കുന്ന ഒരു വേർഡ് ആണ്. When it changes into comparative, ആ Y എടുത്ത് മാറ്റിയിട്ട് you add an IER. Easier. Okay. She is busier than me. She is busier than me. The exam was easier than the last one. This exam was easier than the last one. Okay. So Y which avasanikkuna words aanengil you add an IER when you're changing it into comparative. And superlative in what we do is EST aanu nammal add cheyidu kodukkunnathu. Okay. EST. For example, busy will become busiest, the busiest. She is the busiest person in our family. She is the busiest person in our family. Okay. Or you can use the word easy. Easy. This exam was the easiest among all. Or this exam was the easiest among all I have written. Okay. That is how you form this superlative and comparative when you're talking about two syllable words. Now, if it is more than two, രണ്ടിൽ കൂടുതലാണെങ്കിൽ, or if it is three, what you have to do is we usually don't add ER, EST add ചെയ്യാറില്ല. What you have to do is comparative. When you're changing it to comparative, you have to add more or less in front of the word. Adjective in the മുമ്പിൽ more or less ആണ് add ചെയ്യുന്നത്. For example, let's look at a few words. Popular. Popular. Popular is a three syllable word, right? 3 syllables ആയിട്ടാണ് നമ്മൾ ഡിഫറൻഷിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. So this particular word, you can't add ER or EST or anything to it. So adine mumbile you'll have to add the word more or less in comparative. Okay. She is more popular than me. She is more popular than me. Or she is less popular than me. Okay. Another word is famous. Famous. Okay. She is more famous than me. She is less famous than me. Okay. Expensive. Expensive. This is more expensive than that. This is less expensive than that. Interesting. This movie is more interesting than the one we watched yesterday. This movie is less interesting than the one we watched yesterday. Okay. The word like, handsome and all. He is more handsome than his brother. He is less handsome than his brother. Something like that. So, this is how you make it into comparative. And for superlative, നമ്മൾ most അല്ലെങ്കിൽ least ആണ് അതിന്റെ adjective മുമ്പിൽ add ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്. For example, She is the most popular student at school. She is the most popular student at school. Or you can say, she is the least popular student at school. Okay. Or he is the most famous actress. He is the most famous actor in India. Or he is the least famous actor in India. Okay. This is the most expensive necklace I own. This is the least expensive necklace I own. This is the most interesting movie I have watched. This is the least interesting movie that I have watched. Okay. So this is how you make the sentences when it comes to, or you make the adjectives when it comes to comparative and superlative for 3-syllable words. Okay. For comparative, you add more or less before the adjective, and superlative, നമ്മൾ most അല്ലെങ്കിൽ least ആണ് അതിന് മുമ്പിൽ ആഡ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്. Okay. Now, in ചില നമ്മൾ ഈ ഇറഗുലർ വേർബ്സ് ഒക്കെ പഠിച്ചിട്ടില്ലേ? ഓക്കെ, അതേപോലെ ഇതിലും കുറച്ച് ഇറഗുലർ ആയിട്ടുള്ള അഡ്ജക്റ്റീവ്സ് ഉണ്ട്. മീനിങ് ടു സേ, നമുക്ക് അതിന്റെ കൂടെ യു കനോട്ട് ആഡ് ER, EST ഒക്കെ നമ്മൾ ആ വേർഡ്സ് അങ്ങനെ തന്നെ പഠിച്ചേ പറ്റത്തുള്ളൂ. One example is the word adjective bad. Bad. Badder, baddest എന്ന് പറയുന്ന words ഇല്ല. When you're comparing, you should say, she is, or this movie is worse than the movie I watched yesterday. This movie is worse than the movie I watched yesterday. This is the worst movie that I watched in my whole life. Worst is superlative ആണ്. This is the worst movie that I watched in my life. Similarly, the word good also, you can't add ER or EST to it. It has 2 separate words. Comparatively, നമ്മൾ better എന്ന് പറയും. This better than that movie. This movie is better than that movie. And for superlative, you say, this is the best movie that I have watched. This is the best movie that I have watched. Okay. So this is how you phrase this. There are irregular words like this way. Okay. Mainly these two are common use. You have to learn the comparative and superlative for it. You cannot form it by using ER, EST or anything like that. Okay. There are some other words also. Like words that end with FUL. Okay, അത് ചിലപ്പോൾ 2 syllables കാണത്തുള്ളൂ. Like the word faithful. Faithful, അത് 2 syllables ഉള്ളൂ. So അങ്ങനെ FUL വെച്ച് അവസാനിക്കുന്ന വേർഡ്സിനും we use this, what do you say, more, less, most, least ഒക്കെ അതിന്റെ കൂടെ. Same how we look at the 3-syllable words. For example, she is more faithful than her friend. She is the most faithful in the class. She is less faithful than our friend. She is the least faithful in our class. Okay. So when it ends with an FUL also, you can add these words over there. More, less, most, least. Okay. So these are the words that I wanted to discuss. I hope it is clear what is comparative and what is superlative. Any questions, anyone, any doubts that you have, you can put it down in the comment box. If you have any questions regarding what we have just discussed, ഏതെങ്കിലും ഒരു പർട്ടിക്കുലർ അഡ്ജക്റ്റീവ് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് കമ്പാരിറ്റീവ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ സൂപ്പർലേറ്റീവിലോട്ട് ആക്കാൻ അറിയത്തില്ലെങ്കിൽ you can put a comment down. I can help you out with it. Okay, so I guess there are no questions then. Okay, so I hope this session was helpful for you and you were able to learn something through it. Okay, so thank you all for joining. Have a wonderful weekend and I'll see you during the next live. Okay, thank you all so much for joining.